Now, to discuss this further, live from Sydney is Elaine Pearson. She is the Australia Director of Human Rights Watch. Welcome to the programme. The world has seen these extraordinary images from Kabul airport. Your reaction to the evacuations in general and, of course, the ones by Australia so far?
Well, yes, I mean, obviously it's really distressing to see the chaotic scenes at the Kabul airport. And, we had the announcement today in Australia that Australia's first flight only carried out 26 people. These people were Australians and also Afghans who are locally engaged staff or who have worked with the Australian government. And, frankly, that number is really disappointing. I mean, Afghanistan is in crisis. People are desperate to leave. There are only military planes that are leaving right now. People can't get on civilian flights. So, we're certainly calling on the Australian government to make sure that those flights are absolutely full. And, while we understand that on the ground, obviously it's, a complicated situation, we certainly think that, the vetting that is required can also be done in third countries. But the priority really needs to be getting Afghan people who are at risk to safety.
And what plans does Australia's government have to take Afghan refugees, and how should they help Afghans right now?
Well, it's been a lot more limited, frankly, than what other countries are putting on the table. We've seen, generous offers of, 20,000 intakes from Canada and the UK in recent days. What Australia has said so far is that they will take 3,000 Afghans who are at risk through its regular humanitarian intake. So this means that despite the fact that the world is facing, numerous human rights crises around the world, including in this region, Myanmar, for instance, there are many people who need to flee Myanmar. Those spaces for Afghans are not a special additional intake. And so, certainly groups here on the ground really want to talk to the government about ensuring that they increase that number. And also for the relatives of Australian Afghans, who are really quite distressed. I myself have been having, very distressing phone calls with people who talk about their family members, having to hide from the Taliban in basements. It's, really quite a difficult situation. So they really need to prioritise family reunions.
And separately, if I may, now that I have you here, Elaine, what concerns do you have about women's rights in the country? Has anything you've seen or heard encouraged you that life will be different for women under this Taliban rule?
No, I mean, obviously, I saw the press conference and the fact that, there was the first question asked to a female journalist. And frankly, I think that was a very shrewd move on the part of the Taliban. They're obviously quite desperate to present, a more moderate face to the world. But I think, we're not going to judge the Taliban on what they say, but on what they do. And the actions so far have really not been encouraging at all on women's rights. We are getting reports that schools that serve girls have been closed, that female students attending university have been told to go home, that even journalists who work for state media have been told, that they've been let go. So it's a really, anxious time, I think, for women in Afghanistan. And we certainly do not want to see a return to, the dark days of the 1990s, where there was a complete ban on education, when women could hardly leave the house unless they were accompanied by a male escort. And so I think that really needs to be a priority for foreign governments to ensure that the basic rights of Afghan women are protected and secured.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Elaine Pearson, Australia Director of Human Rights Watch. We appreciate your time.